Hello everyone. Today we will talk about errors and exceptions. So you may have seen when we were coding, or if you have tried any of the code that that you have been discussing, if you have tried yourself, or sometimes when I was typing myself, you may have seen some errors popping out. So that's what we are going to talk about today: errors and exceptions. So both are errors in general. So errors in particular is that, for example, if I say def, right, f, if I can say x, and if I say see, now this, it is a indentation error, right? So basically this is a syntax error where I didn't type it properly. Means I am supposed to put a space after the return and indent the functional block, or so if I can also do a equal to 5. Now see, again, see, Python accepts an indented block, so we are supposed to start from the margin in the beginning, and then if you have a function, you start with the function on the def on the margin, and the rest, or a tab, or like an equal spaced block. So you may have seen that when you're typing Python programs. So this is a syntax error. But now there are other errors that we may get. One most common one is something like zero, this guy, when you divide by, so zero division error. Or I can also have something like suppose if I do 5 plus so it's a type error, so I'm trying to add integer and a string which is not defined. So these kinds of errors is different from the first category, like an indentation or syntax error, and they are the exceptions. And for example, when 1 by 0 division error, for example, so you say something like L equal to 21, and you say y equal to input int input, and then right, int input, and now say I said 12, it's fine, right? It's working fine and I get y. But now you were thinking that everything is going perfectly fine, but somebody accidentally or unknowingly put 0, and your whole execution of the program stops. But this program won't stop if you just run the code as such. There is no error as such, but it is popping when you run it, and depending upon the input it can come about. So these kinds of errors, and in the other case, for example, when you're doing the, for example, yes, suppose 1 2 3 4, and you have two lists and another list, and suppose you're trying to add the elements one by one with a for loop, and all integers fine. Suddenly say 1 unknowingly, for example, 1 became like that, and now if you try to add 1 by 1, you pop up an error. So these kinds of errors, you may want to catch them, and then say that, okay, if in case this happens, let us do something else. So that's why we use something called a try except block. So what we do here is, so whatever there is an error problem, for example, let's define something like n equal to say 21 or something, and I say try, right? Then I say, for example, y equal to input, and just let's try m equal to n divided by y, right? And now I am going to say except block. So here this is tried. This is gonna Python is gonna do the first step and second step. Now if there is an error, Python is gonna catch that and the program execution won't stop. And then you can say, for example, print, I can say 0 division, right? So now let us run. We are waiting for the input. So 21, right? There is no problem, you may get m, but now let us make an exception. So I'm putting 0, so 0 division. So now if you do the m is coming from the previous this case, since I already defined. But if there was no m, if for example, let us do, what I'm saying is, for example, if I do d, right, I'm gonna make it 0, and I say, see, name d is not defined because this hasn't come into play yet, right? Because of the error he couldn't calculate this, so that is why name d is not defined. So now so this is except. So I know that 0 division error, you know, it said if I do say 1 by 0, right, 0 division error. When I just do this except, it is catching all kinds of errors, okay, syntax errors, some, you know, what all exception raises. So if I want to be specific, I don't want to mess up, you know, I may want to be very specific, and then I can do this. Now if I put, it is only catching 0 division error. And since we are almost blind to this, like we can't see, you know, once error happened, with what exactly happened, we can actually do the sys module. Maybe we will look at the sys module in detail later. I can do import say sys, and then I can do here, when the error happens, I can say print sys, the first info, and now if I do 0, it shows me what exactly, which is the error happened. So it is not something else, you know, what we are talking about. So this gives a little bit more idea about what was the error actually happened. So now we got there, and there are some more exception, some more extension to the try except block. So first one is, so I do this, right, in case there is no error. For example, I may want to do something, right? So in that case, what I can do is else. There's an else statement. Now if there is no error, if error, this is happening, I caught it and something I did something. And if there is no error, I want to do something. For example, I can use the d, right? D is now defined. So for example, I can say say value equal to say 2 to the power of d, right? Something like that. So now for example, as usual, 1, right, it went, but if you look at value, it is now value is 1, so value is now defined. Okay, now let me demonstrate again. So now if I say I'm going to create an error, which means that this is the side which is executed, right? And then now okay, value, see, this is because it doesn't come here, you know. So this is if the error happens, this, else this happens. And now one more short extension which might be useful, which is finally, whatever, and that is what it means. Whatever means when I leave, so I did this, I did this. If there is an error, this happens, this error happens. But no matter if the error happened or not happened, at the end when I leave, I need to do this. For example, I can say finally data out or something equal to, I can say y plus 100, so I'm going to create first an error. Okay, so I'm going to just do a normal one without anything. So now I say data out is 101. Okay, and now I'm going to create an error, so 0, right? So so in this case, so you see earlier I put 1 and there was no error. That time data out was 101. Now I put 100 and now I put 0, it is 100. So this is executing no matter what. So this is the basics of a simple idea, very. So it is not limited to a couple of sentences or so. Your program can be really complex, and you may be reading files, and you may be taking data over the internet, so depending upon what the kind of code that you're writing, you can use and wrap your code in a try except block to catch it and process it and do what exactly you need to do. Thank you very much for watching.